And it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, talking business today at the Cardforum in New Orleans. And a great talk on how an organization can be innovative, make it part of their culture, by Brandon Moore of Wells Fargo. And Brandon, you really talked a lot about how innovation can help a company, and you've kind of built a system. But tell us a little bit about how you found a structure for innovation.
Thanks, Ken. Well, it's something that we had to learn over time. I'm not sure there's one perfect one, but the one that worked for us was one where we were balanced in terms of having a special group that went out and was doing innovation, as well as asking everybody in the organization to think a little bit about innovation and creating a structure where we could capture the ideas that they had or that a line of business had, pull them up into the innovation structure so that we could fund them, expedite them, and bring them to our customers for testing or into the marketplace.
Very good. I love the quote you put up on the screen: repeatedly innovating where it matters for customers creates sustainable competitive advantage. And how do you do that? How do you innovate on a regular basis and figure out where it really matters for customers?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ken. I think it comes tone from the top. So for us, innovation is one of those things that our CEO and our senior leadership team believes is important as we serve our customers. And so with their endorsement, it's something that we've brought into every business. We've created a centralized team. And as we think about our customers and how technology is changing the way that we serve them, we fully recognize that our job is to bring the best of technology back home to our customers to make their lives easier, to make it simpler for them to manage their financial lives, to make payments something that kind of disappears into the background so that they can go ahead and conduct the transactions that they want to do as they lead their lives, right?
And something that really hit a chord for me, especially because I do some work with the military, is deliver on time and on budget. That being a goal versus innovation, which could take longer and could have unexpected expenses along the way. How do you handle that, where innovation can take longer and be more expensive than you thought at the start?
Yeah, I think, again, it's not only what you ask people to do, but what you reward them to do. So what we found at one point in time was we were asking people to be innovative, but when you really sat down with them, their understanding of our culture was that the way they were going to get promoted, the way they were going to get ahead was on time, on budget. And we realized there was an inconsistency there and that we really needed to accept the risk. Not that people would go and do whatever they wanted, but that having well-reasoned decisions should be rewarded, even if the end result after innovating wasn't something that turned out as a market-leading idea. But the idea that they went into it, they researched it, they understood the issues, they went in, they did a constructive test, and they found out that it didn't work. It really should be something that should be celebrated just as much as one that goes to market and is a wild success. Because otherwise, you sand off the ideas, and you're not going to get the real change agents coming through.
And you mentioned some of the technology that is available to banks. It's been a subject of the conference between AI, blockchain, biometrics, which we see, robotics, drones even, as you mentioned. How do you identify some of the technology that could be used for a product, service for consumers or business clients?
Yeah, so, I think one of the important things is you got to tinker. Right, you need to understand what these technologies mean, how they're used, how they can be deployed. And so what we have is we have a small group, meaning like 5 employees, that are really looking at some of these cutting edge technologies to understand what do they do, what are their capabilities, and then how could we use them, again, to harness their power, whether it's robotics or AI, and bring that back to our customers in a way that we think is meaningful. And then when you start to tinker, you start to understand, and then you can actually take some bigger learnings and make some bigger projects and proof of concepts that allow you to really test out and prove out where some of these trends are going.
Very good. I always like to ask my guests about their career. You said you've had a significant tenure at Wells Fargo. Tell us a little bit about before that and then some of the steps along the way in your career at Wells Fargo.
Yeah, so, I think I originally started out as an accountant at Deloitte & Touche in their audit practice, and then went over into management consulting and went to business school, which is where I first kind of got exposed to fintech in 1998 as it was developing in New York City. And that was a really interesting time that kind of captivated me. When I graduated, I worked at Intel in one of their new businesses, and that gave me a great perspective on some of the new technologies, the engineering, the data centers, and even cloud computing we were working on back in 1999 and 2000. Now, we didn't quite see that come into market until almost a decade later. But it was a really interesting opportunity to work with some of the the thought leaders in the era. And then at Wells, I came in when we were first moving our commercial customers, meaning like institutional clients, onto the internet. And if you can believe it or not, at that point, we were having to explain to them why they may want to use the internet to manage their banking capabilities. It was not something that they understood or thought about. So 20 years ago, you go to today, that's the expectation. And so now they're starting to ask about not only what are your internet capabilities, I mean, that's just table stakes. Now they're asking about what are your API capabilities and how can you take me forward? And so it's been a great career, it's been a great company, and I think we're working on problems that really matter to our customers, and that's energizing. I didn't come with the expectation that I would be here 19 years later, but you work with a good group of people on things that you think are interesting and matter, and time goes by.
That's great. I feel the same way at CBSI. Brandon, final thought, something you learned, something you heard at the Cardforum that stands out to you?
I talked about the focus on the customer, but I just really enjoyed hearing other competitors, other people in the industry also recognizing that, this is a huge ecosystem of people that are trying to make a magical moment when someone is making a payment, something that works well, that is something that they can trust, it's secure, that they avoid fraud, it's easy, they have the ability to go and manage their payments, the information that comes from it, and their receipts. And so I just really found that energizing, is that everybody's talking about the customer these days. And I think that's great, and our customers are going to be better off for it.
That's super. Brandon Moore, Wells Fargo, great to chat with you. You had a terrific session this morning at Cardforum, and great to meet you.
Great. Ken, it's been a pleasure, and safe travels home.
Thank you. This is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services at the Cardforum in New Orleans.